Thank you for that, James. I really appreciate it. And of course, it was really good to hear what everybody's looking forward to learning or just hearing Lucy's end of the story. And we've never had anybody from Poland before, so karibu sana, the people from Poland, and everybody else who has joined us. But this is really exciting for me because we're going to be listening to a very, very dynamic person who has been in the tourism sector for over 30 years. Her specialization is actually an MBA in tourist and hotel management. So she's somebody who knows her craft very well, not just from her learning, but also from her experience. She's currently the chairperson of the Kenya Tourism Federation. She's the Tourism Recovery Task Force that's ongoing right now. So when you talk about resilience and how it is that we're going to be getting over this hump, even as we sit in the middle of this third COVID wave, it would be we're really looking forward to just hearing what your experiences have been, Ms. Karume, in all of this, but also to just let people know that you've been a leader, not only in the business that you're running right now, but also for Kenya, right? So those are the areas that we've talked about, whether it's the Tourist Federation, but also the fact that you're a board member of KEPSA. You've been on the sector boards. You are also a trustee of KEPSA Foundation. So there are all these aspects that you bring to the table, including the fact that you're an environmentalist at heart, and this is also reflected in some of your leadership. Because right now you are a director at Nature Conservancy and also at the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. So you're a multifaceted person, and we can't wait to hear how all of these different parts of you come together and tell us about your leadership journey and what it's been like, especially during the last year, but also what it is that has come, what has brought us to that particular point for you. So we look forward to hearing your story, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Lucy. Karibu sana. Please tell us about who you are and your leadership journey. Thank you. Lucy, we can't see you. If you could put your video on. Because I see that you're unmuted. And I know that I know you were on earlier.
Good morning, I'm right here.
Yes, but I don't know why we're not seeing you. Lloyd, maybe we do a spotlight video.
Well,
there you are.
I've already done that. Yeah.
Okay, now we can see you very clearly. And then if you just unmute your mic, then we can hear you very clearly. Yeah, there we go. Wonderful. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Now?
Yes. Oh, but I think you need to mute your phone.
See me now?
We can see you and we can hear you, but you might need to mute your phone so that we don't have an echo.
Okay.
Yes, now it's clear. Mm. So let's see, why don't we see you, but it's a bit slow, so maybe we'll switch. We'll have Lloyd call you so that we can see what we can do. Yeah, so in the meantime, while we figure out which one to use, I see you're back. Let's see if this new connection will work, because the picture is a bit clearer than it was before. So let's give it another shot and see if this will work. And if you just unmute this particular mic, let's see. No, it's freezing again. Okay. The phone one is clearer, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Let's use the phone one. Yeah. Let's use the one. The phone, I think, is the one that is clearer, and then we'll just stop the other video. Okay.
Is it better?
So much better.
Okay. All right. Yes. Let's stick to the phone, I think. Let's leave this other one out. So let me go to what I was saying, and it's my introduction that I'm hoping out of this session, I will have instilled at the end of the session some hope for every participant who's here, and be able to hope that I will receive a new challenge from you guys of what it is you're going to say to me and the questions that you're going to ask me.
Absolutely. That sounds like a very good start. So I'm sure this time around we've got quite a number of people who are in the tourism sector. So you can also, you can also speak about that and the fact that we also have quite a number who are in the environmental space, whether they're coming in to talk about education and support or whatever environmental services that people have. So all of those, we're all here ready to listen and to learn. And I'm sure we'll get the questions coming in fast and furious on the chat. So yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I will try as much as I can to cover as much as you have asked me to do. And but let me give you a little bit of a small history on who is this person in your screen called Lucy, or as my family calls me, Shiro. I grew up in what I've always said is different challenges in life. And I want to be clear here that challenge is not always a negative. Challenge to me has always been a positive because it makes me go from one step to the other step. Now, at the tender age of 5 years, my parents found it the best move to send myself and my younger sister at the ages of about 6 and 5 to a boarding school. That was a challenge because going to school at that tender age, you could not even know what you were doing with yourself. You couldn't even hardly know who you were, but it set us up to understand that life has got challenges, but if you go in and take on those challenges head on, you actually do come out on the other end a better person. So I did go to a school very early, into a boarding school very early, but also it is the knowledge that my father needed to have his education through his children. What he missed out, he made sure that we had it, so we could be his education. And I remember as a young age, any time that we had visitors at home, he'd call and say, Shiro, come and speak English to these people. Because he wanted to show off. I took my child to school, listen to how much English he can speak. So of course, there was always a game back and forth, but imagine at the age of 8 or 9, I'm standing there in front of this crowd of people saying something to them in English, and my father's pride was there. Education in itself does give you the stepping stones that you need. Do not confuse that education must be conformed to the 4 law, medical, teacher, and etc. Education can be anything that your passion is in. So pursue your education, whether it is in bits and whether it is in a 4-year term, whatever it is, do what you can to get yourself ahead every step of the way. This next statement that I want to make is a very personal statement, but it's my statement to the young mothers, the young who are in school, in high school, just leaving school, and a challenge comes upon their way, and they think it is the end of the world. At a very tender age, I got pregnant, very young, unmarried, just out of school, out of Form 4, and here I am. And oh, wow, goodness, you'd have thought the axle that the earth was on had broken. But I hadn't. I still went on to be who I am today. So I'm saying to the young mothers, I'm not advocating for you to go out there and get pregnant as a young girl. But if it does happen, make sure that it does not become a stumbling block. Embrace it and take yourself to the next level. So that's a small snippet that I needed to put in there. And my outcome of that is a beautiful young lady who today is a professor in psychology. So it all worked out well, don't you think so? I think it did. I think it worked out very well. Now, growing up in a family like I did was a lot of fun because we were many people. But we also got to see how a family business starts and how it's done. Because as we grew up, we watched, or rather I watched my parents start from scratch and have a struggle to make life and to be able to do the best that they wanted to do for their children. So when we grew up was what is called the Indian Bazaar. I grew up, my small childhood was at the Indian Bazaar of Kiambu. But this was also a first for the African people because my parents were the first ones to open a shop out there. And to make you laugh, one of the things that we did as a game was slide down very steep hills in our clothes. And by the time the day is over, we knew we had to face our mother with torn clothes in our behind, and we would still get a spanking on that behind. So it was a very normal life growing up, but it was good to see them start to do their business as a couple. And this is where this started. But it has showed you the support that you need in every step of what you're doing as your business is very key and very important. As my father was sent out to jail during the Mau Mau, Mom stayed back and continued the business and held that business. So partnership in a family business comes from that there's always a fallback. There's always somebody who will pick up where the balls have fallen, somebody who will always take it to the next level. And this is the beauty of family businesses. Family businesses have been around for, goodness, forever. The oldest one that is spoken about is a Japanese family that has been going on for 46 generations. And it's an issue of passing it down back and forth and growing with it. Let me go back a little bit so that I don't skip, because I had so much information for you guys. Now, you heard about my work in tourism, and that started after finishing my Form 4. I then moved on to the States, where I was supposed to be doing a law degree. That's what I was sent there to do by my father. And I went there and I thought to myself, I'm not doing any law degree. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's how I went into tourism. And it's worked out well for me. It was a passion. It's what I felt I was comfortable with. And that is what I've done for the last 40, 45 years of my life. And I've enjoyed doing this. It's given me an opportunity to interact with many different people. It's given me an opportunity to know what a ripple effect tourism has in everybody's life. I am proud to say that working in the tourism industry, I joined what is the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers. And this is an association that has been in existence for almost 50 years now, because it started way back in 1944. And I joined as a member, and I grew up the ladder as the first female to be a vice chairperson of Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers, and subsequently to be the chairlady of Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers. Now, going for that election, I didn't realize how important it was to family, because my father cleared his calendar and came to Mombasa where I was because he wanted to be around me as I was getting voted in to this business. And I thought, it's just an association. It's not a parliamentary seat. But he was there. He was there, and he sat back and kept on calling to find out, did she make it? Is she the chairman now? And when I did, I came home to find a big party congratulating me for breaking the ceiling as the first female to head KAHC. So dear ladies, keep going. Keep breaking this ahead of you. It gave me the opportunity now, and this is where my introduction to Kenya Private Sector Alliance came in, KEPSA representing the tourism board. And let me do a correction here. I am not the current chairlady or chairperson of KHC. That position, I handed over chair to Mohammed Hersi. So he is the current chair and a very seasoned and very passionate person, and is taking KTF to another level. This is where I joined into KEPSA. And again, I'm a go-getter. So the position came up for a vice chair of KEPSA. And somebody says, why don't you do that? I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I went in, got voted in, and became the first female vice chair for KEPSA. Again, that was another good first of many. And you were asking why, and I'll tell you. Your life will always have challenges, and you can also make your own challenges, because those challenges grow you. They take the fear out of moving forward for you. So I always look to embrace challenges wherever they are. And this is what one of the things that I want you to remember, that you can do anything as long as you put your passion into it. Adapting to change in many situations is difficult. During the pandemic, we've been forced to adapt to many changes. But here you are behind the screen of where I'm speaking from, and you're still present. So you are managing the change. It is difficult, yes, but you are managing it, and you need to give yourselves credit for what it is that you are able to do. Moving forward as a challenge, and this is in family business. We have a hotel in Mombasa called the Indian Ocean Beach Club. And at one point in 2003 or so, there was no manager running the hotel. And my father says, you go and run the hotel. And I'm like, no, why would I go and run a hotel I do nothing about? He says, just go and do it. And I thought, okay, I'll go and do it. So I went in, deep dive, no education background, but I knew that the industry was there. I could rely on people who were in the industry. I could make a call and say, how do I do this? How do I take this challenge? How do I calculate this kind of thing? And that's exactly what I did. And I went in and I lasted for 9 years, growing up in ranks to actually running the entire establishment. So challenges, again, I go back to that, are not a bad thing. They just help you. And what we are going through right now is a pandemic challenge. It's asking you to go back and downsize your business. It's asking you to do the difficult thing of knowing how many people am I going to have to lay off? How many people can I be able to retain on the condensed business that I'm now running? But remember that you're running a business and you need for it to survive. You need to look for what else you need to add on to it so that it can continue surviving. Are we still together?
We are very much together.
Okay, all right then. Many people have asked, how is it to run a family business? It is difficult, but it is also one of the best support nets that I have experienced. Because in spite of all the challenges that most of you have seen or read in the media, at the end of the day, we hold hands as family and say, where do we go next? How do we deal with this now? So in spite of the challenges that we have gone on and are still going on and going through, the family business is a strong area. And a family business is just starting with two people in the same family who've decided to do different things, to run a business, to start a business. But they know that if I am down, this other one will keep holding the flag up high. And that is the beauty of doing a family business. But at the same time, remember, family businesses also grow and outgrow themselves, because then they need to bring in outside people to be able to come and give the expertise that you may not be having. So when you're doing your business, learn to treat it as a do you trust your parents? When my mother passed on, it was a difficult time because she was a huge part of the business. My father always said, if it wasn't for this woman and my other stepmother, business would have been difficult. But he also knew that he needed to keep going and he needed to keep bringing his children into the business. And that's how most of us, my brothers and my sisters, came into the business, so that they can each hold one side of the ring to make sure that the ring is not lopsided. And he worked it in such a way that we excelled in education, so that we were able to bring it in. But he also recognized the weaknesses that required other professional people to come. Now, Mzee then goes away, and he is a good teacher on starting with nothing and building it up. And it's always an honor to hear people who say they knew Mzee, they knew what he stood for. I want to remind you, I want to tell you a few things of what he stood for. He stood for respect of time. We must continue to show respect of time. Because if you do not wake up early enough to do your book, ask me what are the learnings or what are the teachings that I can remember from my father. That is one of them. Respect time. The other one, do it now. You receive a call and somebody says, I want to order 200 blankets to be delivered next week. You write it down, you leave it on the side. That would not be with yourself. When you think, how am I going to go go to that office. Go to that office. Knock on the door of that office. Because you could have said whatever you were going to request for, could have said, yes, I can do that for you. Or they could say, I'm going to do that for you. They could say, well, let's think about it together. But because you knocked on the door, it can make time for yourself to get to another position. The other thing that, and this now comes to personality that I learned, I'm giving you what I learned from Zay, and I'll give the people you're dealing with on a scale. Somebody could do something wrong in your organization, and you're so angry that you're lashing out and you want to fire that. He's put together mistake that person has done, and then let it weigh itself. And if it weighs itself that the good has gone over the bad, then no, you need to do a bit more work to polish what was bad to make that person a better person. Okay? The last one that I did learn was make time to be happy. Make time to be happy. Because if you are not happy, if you have not taken care of you, then it'll show up in your business. It'll show up in what you're doing. So make sure that you, me, Lucy, I have taken care of the different things that need to be done so that I can be able to give more to the businesses that I'm doing. Wangeshi, how much time do I have?
You still have 20 minutes, so you're fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Keep learning. Keep learning. You may ask yourself, I'm in such a condensed business right now. I'm having to cut corners right now of my businesses. How am I going to find money to keep learning, to do small courses here and there? The internet has become a fantastic education platform. Please go online and you will find a lot of free 2, 1 hour, 3-day courses. Take them, enhance yourself, advance yourself. These are there for you. One that comes to mind that I go to a lot, Mind Valley. Mind Valley does a number of free courses, and they do very good free courses. Go into that and pick out, you will pick out something out of it. Even if you're not going in for a class for 6 months because you don't have the money, do the short courses because they will give you 1 or 2 items that you can hold on to or you can apply to the different parts of your business. Now, when I look at SMEs, and you are really the bedrock of the economy of Kenya and many other countries. And I know that the government is so keen, and KEPSA has done a lot of work to advance and to grow the SME sector. Hence the reason some of these mentorship programs that you can see. There are also, SMEs are little birds that are trying to open up as flowers. And it takes a lot of time for them to do that. But you can do it because you need to find out for yourself, is the business that I am doing exactly what I want to do? So that you're able to put into that everything that you have as a passion. Now, in a small business, and especially small businesses, SME as a family business, you reach out and you rely on those who are family to step in to be able to hold that business. And it's important that even when you know that you've had to release your external staff, that you still have people that you can rely on. And it's important that you look at the strength of the people you're with. You need to look at the skills. You need to say, do I need to upskill the skill level of the people I work with, so that if one goes out, somebody else can still hold on to that ball and run with it. These are the areas that you need to ask yourself, how do I enhance those so that I am actually being able to keep on to my business? Pandemics are here, and pandemics will come and they will go. And there are different pandemics, not only medical, there are pandemics even in your own businesses. But as long as you framework and you ring fence your business in such a way that it can take the jolt that come from business or from adverse situations, you will be okay. A lot of times we sit back and we allow fear to dictate what it is that we can move forward with. Fear will come in, but use that fear positively to make sure that your business is cushioned and that it is strong. You need to be able to do that and to realize, I am still here, I can still do it. Do not give up. This is my message to you. Do not give up. Remember also your customer. Are you doing right by your customer? Does your customer still come to you with a smile? Remember, much as you are going through a challenge in this pandemic, even your customer is going through a challenge. So when they come to you, they're coming and hoping that they'll come to a situation or to an area where the person behind there is acknowledging them, is still being able to put a smile, is still being able to give them superior service. If they're coming from wherever they're coming with all the challenges and come to you and you just add on to their challenges, they're going to go somewhere else. So your customer is your key. You need to make sure that in spite of the fact that you have a challenge, your customer sees you as a relief area to come and do business. This is something that you need to also work on. Now, when I got deeply into business through the family business, through tourism, through KEPSA, I had to go back and look at me and ask, who are you and where do you fit into this equation? And it was important for me to understand where I'm a part of everything and how do I make it work? And the only way that I could have been able to make it work was if I took care of what I call
Lucy, I don't know what happened with your video. Okay, you're back.
Yeah. So eventually and this is something I want to give to you that has worked very well for me. There is a person called Njenga Karume. Now, this person, I needed to make this person into a brand. And to make this person into a brand and to make this person into a corporation. So there is what is called Lucy Incorporated. Now, Lucy Incorporated must go through various fine-tuning. I must educate myself. I must take care of my challenges. I must take care of my health. I must take care of my family. I must make sure that Lucy Incorporated is doing fine. Because as long as Lucy Incorporated is doing good, then Lucy will be able to give more to her business and to her family business. So go back to you. Make sure you try and do personal development courses. There are many online, they're free ones. There's some you can do in our colleges here, Strathmore, KU, Nairobi University. Look at you as a brand and as a corporation. So work on you and put a strategy on you, a mission and a vision statement on you. My strategy for myself runs for 13 months, so that at 12 months, I then have a month to reevaluate how is Lucy Incorporated doing. Because if Lucy Incorporated is not doing well or is doing below 50%, then what she's going to bring to the business will be at that level of 50%. You need to get yourself at 70, 80% as your personal person. So if you can do this, have a personal strategy for yourself. It works for you and it takes care of you, because if you are not fine, your family is not fine, your health is not fine, and all the other things that make you the person, it'll find it difficult to actually give more to your businesses. I know my time is almost running up, Wangeshi, and I know we also have questions that we need to go through. So I'm give you 5 or 6 takeaways from this mentorship. I call these my samosa analysis. Why are they called samosa analysis? Because I think the samosa is one of the most versatile little food that we had, because it's what you put into that cover that is covered in there that is going to give an outcome of what it is. And my samosas are in a different area, and I use my samosas for different parts of my life and my businesses. The samosa analysis, you need to ask yourself, samosa analysis on your staff, are they properly multi-skilled? So that if one is not there, if you need to let one go, or when it's during a pandemic like this, then you'll be able to come in. One other person can actually still do the job that was being done by somebody else. You may have downsized, but the people you have are capable of doing it. So is your staff samosa properly skilled in order to be with you or to run the business during pandemics? My samosa number 2 is my customer samosa. How are my customers perceiving me during a pandemic? Am I still able to give what I've always given when the good times were there? Am I still having the smile on my face when I greet my staff, my customers? You need to make sure that your customer samosa is properly filled up so that it gives you tomorrow the same customer coming back to you. When I was running the Indian Ocean Beach Club, I had a client called Suzanne, and she came from Germany. And Suzanne came for a period of, at one time, she'd come 3 times a year, and every visit was not less than 3 months. In the first 3 months, it was exciting, it was everything. Another 3 months, another 3. And she did this for the period of 9 years. And you get to a point and you ask yourself, what more can I put in this customer's samosa so she can come back again tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow? So you need to keep adjusting, making changes in your ingredients on that samosa, on your customer's samosa, so that they can keep coming back, knowing there could be something different again coming back next time that will push them to come back again. My third samosa is your business analysis. Take your business through an analysis so that you know what you did last year, what was good and what was not good. So you can now downgrade on what was not working for you and push up what was working for you and put more effort on that. So your business samosa needs to be analyzed also so that it actually does well as you're going year in and year out. My last one, which I already spoke about, was samosa me. What is samosa me saying to me? How am I doing? Am I doing all right? How is my incorporation? How is my strategy? How is my family? How am I doing? So that I'm able to give more when I go that way. So those are basically my 5 samosa analysis, what I call samosa analysis. And you can put whatever you want as your added samosas into what you're doing. But remember, is what you put into them that is going to be good improved or excellent, or will say, let's do more of this particular samosa because it is working for my business. There are many other things that I would love to be able to tell you, but because I don't have time, but I'm sure you're going to get my contacts, and feel free to always come back and ask me whatever it is that you want to ask. Now, my intention was to give you hope. And I hope I have given you hope to answer a lot of the questions that you may have been asking yourselves, and hope that you can take another step tomorrow in your businesses, and hope that in spite of everything, there is hope for tomorrow, that you can still continue tomorrow. That if you continue doing some of the things that I've mentioned to you, you will survive pandemics, you'll survive challenges, and you will grow your businesses to different levels. Remember, family business, like our family business, started with 3 people, my father and his 2 wives. And from that level of challenge, of no education, but what did they have? Honesty, passion, on time, all right? They worked on those areas and made sure that that was what was consistent in everything they did. They held on to those and never dropped the ball on them. They were on time in what they agreed to do. They were consistent in how they wanted their business run, the honesty part of it. They held on to their integrity. They were patriotic Kenyans, and they held on to these in everything they did. These were, and those are the pillars that I picked up as a child to do the business that I'm doing today and for everybody else. So I hope I've done good for you. Challenges that I'm going to embrace head on, put them into my Lucy Incorporated challenge strategy, and work that way through it. So I wish you hope for tomorrow. And I wish that you will keep safe, because when you keep safe, then I am safe also. And I wish you
Yeah, I've never heard of the personality. In fact, a lot of people are commenting about the and what you said about the fact that what you put into it is what is going to determine what happens next. You know, and whether that I love what you said about you being a brand, right? That the person is a brand, and that you yourself should have your own strategy, and as you create one for the business, you should remember to create one for yourself as well, because it also goes back to your 5th samosa. There was someone here who was asking what the 5th one was. I think her name is Esther. And Esther, the 5th samosa was a samosa about you. So you need to look at what it is that you're filling yourself with, and whether that's working for you or not. Really, that's been really amazing. The point that really stood out for a lot of people in the chat was what you said about your customer, and the fact that find that ground that works for the 2 of you, so that your customer comes back, because you are being considerate of the fact that they're also going through a challenge.
Yeah.
And so it ties back to what her name is Winnie Byanyima. She's now the head of UN AIDS. And she always talks about the fact that we need people, simply that
Yes,
if
I
your
like
business
that.
is going to survive, if your business is going to recover, you need to put people at the center of it. And if you're putting the customer needs as part and parcel of how you're going to move forward through this challenge, then it is something that that will all survive. So thank you so much for this. I love the nuggets you gave us about your father. You know, that you know, his persona you see on the outside is another to have him as a father. So thank you for sharing those, because those nuggets are really key, and especially that whole thing around not on the line. And I really believe that the reason why they're all in business is because they've decided to take that leap and take that step. And it's a wonderful reminder not to underestimate
Yes.
ourselves,
Yes.
you know, as rather than right now, but we'll be looking at that. Alice tells me that I've got some maybe against my clothes, so I hope now it's not making noise.
That's better.
Yes. Okay, good. So looking here to see the questions. Again, most people are like, oh my gosh, thank you for the samosa analogy, the fact that you know, that's one of the comments that have been made there, that, you know, thank you, Lucy, for sharing that the most valuable asset you have is the essence of you. And I really resonated with a lot of people. And yeah, a lot of things that we have here are that this was a very awesome and motivating session, and those were fantastic insights. The fact that you talked about talent making you grow. Somebody else talked about, you know, that whole, you know, thank you for sharing that you went to both there. And also and I love what you said about, you know, going ahead and pursuing the thing that that makes you that makes you happy, because, you know, here you were, you've gone off, you're supposed to be studying law. How do you get over that hump of, this is what I need to do and not necessarily what my parents expect of me? How do you get over that hump? Because I think that very many times people remain in spaces because they're afraid of what especially family or even society as a whole will say. So if you could talk a little bit about that, and then now I've seen a few questions coming up, and we'll ask those ones as well.
Okay. Thank you for all the great comments that have come in. And like I said, my intentions right from the beginning was to be able to instill and inspire some hope as everybody moves forward. And to your question, yes, I went in knowing that I was going to do law, because that is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. But I arrived in this extremely cold America, and I thought, law, I'm going to be here for 7 years? No. Something's got to change here. What do I want to be? What do I want to do? And because I knew I was a very people person, it was easy to make a switch and say, I am doing tourism and hotels. Now, did I make that known in the beginning? No, you don't do that. how's school? School's going fine. Everything's fine. Yes, everything's fine. I did not say, hey, I switched from your law to my hospitality. But at some time, of course, I did eventually. But you see, it's in you. You know yourself. And I'm going to give you a little bit about my son, Njenga. I put my son through the same thing. You go and do A, B, C, D. And he went in and started and then came back home and said, no, Mama, that's not what I want to do. And he said, and I said, what do you want to do? He says, I want to play football. Football? What do you mean you want to play football? That's no career. But it is what his passion was. It's what he wanted. And the choice was push him to do what I want or let him do what it is that he wants. And of course, with the backing of his grandfather, in fact, this is what is so odd, is that his father backed him more than I did. Is that what you want to do, Njenga? Go and find the school to do that and go and play football. So you need to let people allow themselves to be what it is. It's about, I was going to blame myself. I don't have to go back and say, I did it for you and you see now I'm not a happy person. No, I just went to hospitality and transport because it's what I wanted to do.
Wonderful. Thank you. So there's a question here from Jane Maigwa, who says, did you have to pivot to other lines of business to survive? And I think this is probably around the fact that we've had, we've had this pandemic and hospitality and events were some of the areas that were hit directly and immediately.
Thank you. That really, and I should have covered that area. That's a very good question because of the diversification of our business, that our parents had already set up, we are in hospitality, we're in agriculture, and we're in real estate. So that actually answers that question very quickly to say, try and diversify something else so that if this one takes a back seat, this one is still on the front seat. During the pandemic, waters continued to rise. It is everything green. It didn't know anything about COVID. Tea continues to grow. Difficult to get it across. Business was still growing. So if you are able to find one additional value added business, your business, take it.
There's another question here from Caroline Courier, who's asking how the government is
an expansive ripple effect, because the lady who grows in her 1/8 of an acre tomatoes, those tomatoes need to get into a market, into your plate. When my plate is not there, then her tomatoes are not getting anywhere. So that changing there, very realized by people. They are cushioning economics where they have allowed people to borrow so much money. I think the ceiling is 50 million shillings for your business, up to 50 million for your businesses. It gives you a moratorium of a grace period of 1 to 2 years. It gives you a low interest rate when you start paying. And this is a great stimulus for people to actually be able to come in. The COVID rules that have been put in place by the Ministry of Tourism through Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, whose blood is all tourism, and he has a huge passion for sanitized properties ready to receive the domestic market. The domestic market, and I want to say congratulations and thank you to each and every Kenyan here, because it is you who are holding up tourism. Keep coming to the properties. Keep making sure that you are the ones who are making sure that the staff continue to work. So a big high five to all the domestic tourism.
Question here, Hold on, let me see. I have a couple new questions and comments. And don't worry, we'll get to all of them. We've talked about how the government is supporting the hospitality industry. And then there's somebody who's asked it. I'm going to combine the two questions. So there's a question around, you know, how do you overcome challenges in running a business that is multifaceted? And then also, how do you overcome those challenges when it's a family business? Yeah, running a multifaceted business, but then also, how do you overcome any sort of family dynamics because it's a family business? Yeah.
Okay.
Comment.
Now, on a multifaceted business, like what we have done is that we have put them into 3 separate holding companies. So we have what is called Shanda Holdings Limited that takes care of all agricultural related businesses. We have what is Jacaranda Holdings Limited that handles everything in hospitality. Then we have the Karume Holdings Limited, which is in charge of anything real estate. And then you employ the correct boards in those 3 holding companies to run the businesses, and they in turn come together and report to one central office, which is the trust. So your professionalism in these holding companies is very key to make sure that the businesses are running properly. Now, the beauty of this, or having businesses that are multisectoral, is that when one is down, one of the others can be able to pick it up. We have the hospitality industry is now on its knees, but the agricultural side of it can say, we can sell 10 acres to make you guys survive, because you cannot do that. You see, so they kind of complement each other. It actually relates to the question you asked earlier on. How do you, is it good to put in another business so that it becomes a cushion? So that's the way we, as a Karume group, have been running our businesses.
Okay, thank you. There was a question here about if you would like to share any failure that you may have experienced, and what was your lesson from that?
Failures are many, and I have gone through my own personal failures, not knowing whether I was doing the right thing in business and making a decision that cost the company. And that really, it shakes you up. It really shakes you up, because especially in a family, it shakes you up even more, because then you've got families saying, why did you do that? Why couldn't you? They are able to be brutally honest with you and say, you messed this up. Whereas in a corporation, you may snicker about it. It'll show in the financials. But if I don't make mistakes, I don't want to make mistakes. But if I do make mistakes, can I use those mistakes as a platform? Because if I don't use it as a platform, then it really was a very bad mistake. But a mistake that you ride on and step on and grow yourself better was good. For example, I went into a business of running a hotel with no education background into hotels. It cost the hotel dearly, because there are many things that I was doing in reliance of the people that I was supposed to be managing. What did I do? Took myself off the equation and went to Switzerland for a whole year and did a course in theory about running a business, and then came back. All right. Now, remember, I was going into that at basically at the age of 50. So my co-students were my children. They were young people. And that was quite challenging. But I needed to do that so that I do not create more mistakes when I came back.
Thank you. That's really good to, you own it and you use it as a stepping stone, as opposed to something that you run away from.
Yeah.
And hold on, there was another question here. This one around, there's a combination of questions. So there's a question that we have regarding the licensing requirements for the tourism sector. I guess if you're doing tours and travel, And then there was also a question around which associations people should join if they're in the hospitality sector. If we can combine those two. And then there's another one. I'm not quite sure okay, there's a question here from Alicia who is saying, kindly expound on the government cautioning on tourism and hospitality. As SMEs, we're finding it difficult to meet government requirements. So I think it's probably around what is needed for to meet the requirements right now under the COVID restrictions, and to make sure that you're meeting those protocols. So maybe where they can get information about that. I think that would be helpful. And then there was another, well, that's a KEPSA question. We'll ask it at the end. It's around how do people who are disabled attend some of these training sessions. But I think that's a question that we can, James can answer when we're talking about KEPSA towards the end. So yeah, so if we could talk about, answer those questions, and then I'll pool the rest of them as we go along.
Okay. This really is an excellent question, because it gives me the opportunity to bring in the different tourism associations where questions like licensing in tourism come in. There are associations for each part of tourism, whether it is hotels, whether it is in transport, whether it is in ecotourism, whether it is into pubs and entertainment centers. Any of these, they come under the Kenya Tourism Federation. Now, if you are in tourism, any form of tourism, through the 7 associations that make up Kenya KTF, when you do this, then you will find a basket full of information, a basket full of things that you can do. You'll find people behind the scenes who are ready to assist you, get your licensing, get your positions on COVID matters. All these things are addressed under the Kenya Tourism Federation. We really would like to see that every person in tourism is a member of association, because then we can be able to talk about the codes of conduct in tourism. We can be able to say, when we voice our concerns in tourism, we're voicing for what you have brought in as a concern. So in a nutshell, please Google Kenya Tourism Federation. It'll show you the different 7 associations and how you plug in to those associations, depending on the kind of tourism you're doing.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Then now there's again the question around family business. There's a question here that says, have you and your siblings been on the same page and in harmony when running the business together? And if not, how have you resolved the conflicts? Yes, so that's that other one. We've talked about associations, we've talked about challenges. Yes, so that's the next one.
Okay. Challenges in family amongst siblings is very ripe. It always happens because we're all individuals. We all have our strengths, we have our challenges, we all have what would like to see business done. But our focus is to follow a legacy that has been set up by your parents. This is what they asked you to do. How you do it is now you. But if you keep that focus ahead, then it is from that section on what needs to be done to get us to that position. Now, that doesn't mean that you are not going to have your fights and squabbles. And do not be afraid of these things, because you're human. These things do happen. After all, you grew in a family where you knew who was the person who would run to mommy all the time to sneak on everybody anyway. So, and you knew the person that you run to help you do something. All those happens. Just contain them into focusing, what is your end game? What is your end game? The other area that you need to look at is creating a family charter, a family constitution. And this is done collectively by all members of the family. When you do constitution, when you do your family charter, you sign in on it. That constitution, like any other constitution, does say if this happens, this is the consequence, this is the punishment, or this is the award for that particular issue that has been done. Family constitution, family charters, these are important. The other thing, and this is what now, as a parent, as a member of this family, that I am now learning how to adopt to, is that those children that we have nurtured and grown up are grown-ups. They want to be part and parcel of the legacy. They want to be part and parcel of the family. You must acknowledge them. You must bring them into the fold through education, through experiences. Allow me to give you a snippet. I had my sister Jerry's son, Shire, as a small boy, 8-9 years, lived with me. And the school he went to, he was able to walk to the school. There was yogurt. For some reason, yogurt kept finishing very quickly. And I could ask my cook, why come you keep buying yogurt all the time? And he told me the secret. Your nephew, Morris Shire, he takes all the yogurt, half, and makes them half, takes all the cups and creates a new line of yogurt. But he puts sugar and a bit of yogurt, cuts up 1 or 2 pieces of fruit, and packs them in his school bag and goes and sells them to his colleagues in school.
I love it.
Now, isn't that a businessman? That's how you recognize these people. And you knew from there, Shire was going to be a businessman. And today, Shire is a businessman. Recognizing the trend, recognizing the attributes of your family are very important.
Oh, I love that, which leads very nicely to the next question from Lon Odo, who says, managing boards in family-based companies, it tends to be a difficult one. So how do you keep board interest or even destroying the company?
Comment on family constitutions and who can be. It is not an automatic thing that just because you're a family, it's not automatic. This is a business. It's a family business. According to the law and regulations of the country, we need to do audited accounts. We need to do proper HR practices. We need to do proper environmental practices. We are children just because we're a family that we mess things up. So families recognize that the board as an autonomy of the business. Now, if your family is in that board, it does not mean that they are not superior to the chairman of the board. They may be in position they are in. And you need to instill this again through your family institutions and your family charters.
Wonderful. And I think that goes to a comment that Linda has made, and she's asking, how do we change the statistic that was shown in a Deloitte survey that, only 17% of family businesses survive the 3rd generation. So how can we change that statistic?
This is a worldwide statistics. It's not a Kenya statistics. It's a worldwide statistics. But I think if I look at it from the point of view of when family legacies or family trusts started many years ago, it was very dictatorial. That it was decided by the founders, this is the way it's going to be done, and there's no arguing about it. Of our members, I think the way to go. One, if I bring it back home, Kenya, the trust law Kenya adjusted to take into consideration we and the way as a Kenyan people, we have cultures, we have norms, we have ways that we do our succession. We bring in the Kenyan culture, with what was left to us was the trust were given to us by the British colonies. They're the ones who left us with trust. And let me say it very clearly, trusts are not a bad thing. We just need to get the rules and regulations and redo the act so that it actually encompasses everything that we've become from the time that we were left those trust rules and regulations, so that we can actually enhance it to see us going into third, fourth generations.
Absolutely. Now, this is a question around the tourism sector. And Anne is saying, from your experience in tourism, Kenya has overcome different challenges, including travel advisories, etc. But the MICE industry, which is meetings, what is it? It's meetings, I can't remember what the I
conferences
and
events.
Yeah. It has, it's been identified as having great potential to grow both businesses and tourism in Kenya. But what do you think is the future for Kenya, and how can we use technology in trying to grow back this business, both under MICE and also for tourism?
Thank you. I almost feel like this question, or the lady who asked this question, knows that I am a member of the Kenyan National Bureau committee under the tourism ministry. And yes, we do have the Kenya National Bureau. And our job now is to reposition Kenya as a hub for conventions and entertainment and events. Now, the work is being done so that even the digital world that we have seen today, virtual conferencing, is enhanced so that it becomes the extra of a tourism, of your normal tourism. So we are working on a program. We are working as a committee to make sure that we bring in conventions into this country, because they have a huge ripple effect out of themselves as it is. Okay. We want to be able to bid in the world for huge conferences, which actually opens up to a lot of business for other people. So watch this space. We have done a lot of work. We have fantastic consultants who are here working with us, and we will be presenting a blueprint and launch of the logo very soon. And we will look at that. Yeah.
That's great. And then somebody, Karen Kirubi, wanted to hear more about your work in the environmental sector. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
This is my give back to Mother Earth. I was invited to be a member of the Loisaba Conservancy in Laikipia. And we do a lot of work to retain the ranches so that we have enough areas for conservation. At the moment, we're doing a program of looking after and making sure that we have enough research on the giraffe, but also to make sure that we have the communities are benefiting alongside us. The communities in areas of Nyahururu and those areas, these are cattle people. These are people who have ranches for cattle. You need to work alongside them. If you ever want to do anything, give back to Mother Earth. And this is what I do on a conservancy position. I'm also now a member of the KEPSA's national committee that is now working very strongly to make sure that we are recognizing the areas in the private sector of environment. Look at the work that is being done around Nairobi, enhancing the areas. Look at the work that is being done in the different forests. We need to come back in and give back to Mother Earth. Everybody talks about when COVID shut us down, Mother Earth revived. Suddenly we were seeing things that were working. So that is telling us, guys, take care of us, take care of you. If you want to go into environmental issues or environmental committees, please do. It is the future of the earth.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you for that. There's someone here, Felix, who's asking about whether we, as Kenya, whether we're doing any sort of advertising, especially to the US market. He says that he lived there for 17 years and never saw any ads about tourism in Kenya at the time that he was there. So the question is, are we looking at particular markets? Are we trying to advertise our offering, especially our, all the things that we're known for, like our beaches and our safaris? Are we running ads in different markets?
Okay. Out of Ministry of Tourism, we have the parastatal, that is Kenya Tourism Board. Mm-hmm. They are mandated to do the marketing of tourism in Kenya. And they have offices worldwide that do the marketing in the respective areas. It's possible that they may not have come to the state that you are in, but yes, they do a lot of work to market Kenya in America. Likewise, using the Ministry of Foreign Affairs offices, because this is where you actually connect yourselves to Kenya. This is where Kenyans go to for information. This is where information to people who want to come or are not getting information can go to. So enhancing the Foreign Affairs offices to be now marketing strength for Kenya is some work that is actually being done by Betty Radia, who is the KTB director. Do we need more work? Yes, in every section we need more work. But I also want to remind you, we have region, Africa. Mm. Africa is just busting in its seams with everything that is good. So even as we balance the budget on budgeting, we must also balance and make sure that we're doing also enough for the region.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's quite a number of young agencies that are coming up with all of this experiential tourism and even with a focus on both domestic and regional tourism. So there's some really exciting things that are going on out there. But as the questions keep coming in, I do have another question for you, which is what book are you reading right now, and what 3 books would you recommend for us?
Oh my goodness. I think I need to bring them out. But what am I reading? I'm reading Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Of course, I'm reading Michelle Obama. I can't remember the name of the other one that my daughter bought for me the other day. Mm-hmm. But it is on my bedside and I do read. But the one I can remember offhand is Michelle Obama. The mm-hmm. other book that sits on my bedside table mm-hmm. for reference is a book called Charcoal to Gold. That one, at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm going to grab it and ask myself, okay, talk to me here. All right. So that's another book that is on my bedside table.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Yes, and it is a very inspiring book, and I have it too. It's an amazing story, and I'm so glad that it was written and that it's available for all of us to tap into. There was there was someone who had told us that one of the advantages of sessions like these is that we get to hear from all these different business leaders, but another advantage is all these books that we can hear, from those who had been there before, or those that we can't necessarily reach once again. So so that's it's really good that book is there. I know that you had talked you talked about your and encouraged us to really look at what it is that we can do and we can commit to in these different areas that make sure that that the environment is still at the center of what it is that we're doing. And so you talked about that. Mucha is asking around the title for the second book, which is the one of the title is Charcoal to Gold, and it's the story of Njenga Karume. And Shumi has pointed out that you haven't given us the third book, so you can let us know a third book that that you
keep talking
recommend.
And I'll give it to you. Just keep talking. 1 second. I have to give it to you.
Okay. So I'm looking at the comments over here in the section. Felix, I'm happy that you got your answer around what it is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also doing. We are going to get the book that she couldn't remember. The title is coming right now. And Shuma, it was Charcoal to Gold. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
So that's Charcoal to Gold. This is Technici.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's what my daughter gave me that I'm reading, and that is the Michelle Obama.
Wonderful. Thank
Those
you.
are the 3 books.
Those are great. Those are great. And you know, and even for all these entrepreneurs on here, I guess Charcoal to Gold would be the go-to one to really just have a look at, because it's true, you know, that's how your father started with finding that market and filling that need and growing it to what he grew it into, this multifaceted business. So
Yep.
that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, no, we're just getting comments coming into the oh, sorry, the Ta-Nehisi one we didn't see properly, so let's see. All right. There. All right. I've typed it in the in the chat for everybody who wanted to see that. But you know, really, thank you so much for all of this, Lucy. And what I would really want to hear from you is, what is your parting shot to us? What's your parting shot to us, as you know, as we go into the weekend? Yeah, what's your parting shot to us?
Stay consistent. Believe in yourself. Do not underestimate what you're worth and able to do. Yeah.
No, that's actually, that's true wisdom. True wisdom. I really like that. Do not underestimate yourself. Yeah, because very, very often, as you said, your father told you, you don't know about the answer
behind the
until
door.
you ask, until you knock, and until you have that conversation.
Yes.